Hello, and welcome back to the Novel Universe with your hosts, Dawn and Ashley. Today we will be discussing and rating Fable by Adrienne Young. I'm waiting for Ashley to call in. We are doing this live. Here she is. And any second, I will get her in here. Good afternoon.
Hello. How's your Friday?
Good.
Good. Did you get
Yeah.
outside? Because it's gorgeous, man.
No, I have not. I probably will not get outside today. Maybe tomorrow.
Oh, it's gonna be like 73, which is like huge in our area. Because we're
Yeah.
always in the cold. So it's cold, 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 cold. I'm not I'm not okay with that. It
Yeah.
needs to be warm.
We're in Chi- we're in Chicago, so one day it'll be 80 degrees and the next day it'll be snowing, literally, and I'm not
Uh-huh.
exaggerating. So,
Yep, all the time. So we're kind of
yeah.
over it because it did snow last
Yeah.
week, which is
Yep.
awful.
As Ashley and I are actually close to the Wisconsin border, so we're like maybe 5 minutes from the Wisconsin border. So we get like cold Wisconsin air too. So
Mm-hmm.
just in case you
Yep.
were wondering.
And the lakefront, because we're that
Yeah.
fancy.
Yep. Be fancy.
hmm Can we just talk about how beautiful this cover is of the book that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, I really like the cover. Some people don't like people on their covers. I do actually because I like to know what the character looks like. And so when I'm envisioning the book as I'm reading, I can see what they look like. And sometimes, and I did this with this book too, is a new thing that, well, it's not a new thing, but some authors will actually have a Pinterest page and they'll have like inspo for their books and they will like inspo characters. So if this is a little trick that I do, if you really want to know what a character looks like, look up to see if the author has a Pinterest page, and sometimes they will like show what the characters, what they were inspired by. And so I did that for Adrienne Young, and I got an
Mm-hmm.
idea of what West looked like and what her father looked like. So that really was helpful.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to do that because if you zoom into so like on Goodreads they'll have like the picture of the cover. If you zoom into it, you can see the ship in her eye. It
Yeah,
is
I caught that.
so cool. It is
Yeah.
so cool. My husband was like, "What are you reading? That looks super exciting." He's like, "She's so pretty." I'm like, "I know."
Like her lip color, I was like, "Ooh, I like what lip color. What
I
is that?"
know. I know. I do too. I was like, "Ooh, can I get that? Does Revlon carry that?"
I kind of have something close to that. It's a MAC color,
Oh, Mac's
but
got
yeah.
good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, they got good stuff.
they do. They do. So
Yeah.
today you're talking about Fable. I'm so excited to talk about this. What were
Yeah.
your first initial reactions when you received the book? Or since you read that on Edelweiss, but what were your
Well,
first
I had,
reactions?
do you mean to like before I read like the plot synopses and everything? What do you mean?
So like your first initial thought about the book when you received the book.
So I got a box of books from Macmillan, I think this is, and
Mm.
they sent out emails. I'm a librarian, and I used to get books at the library, but because of COVID, the publishers were like, "Oh, we don't want to stop sending you guys books," so they asked for my home address, and I was actually shocked that they found my house and like sent it to my house. So so I love the cover. Like I said, I'm a sucker for I didn't used to be a cover person. I really am not a person who reads by the cover, but this was attractive. It was a really pretty cover. I like Adrienne Young's writing, so I wasn't worried at all. I knew I was going to get a good story, if anything. So sometimes you get a fantasy book and you're like, oh, fantasy's a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? But I know what I'm going to get when I read an Adrienne Young book. So I was pretty excited. I was glad that I gave Ashley the choice of which books to read next, and I was really glad that you chose this one. You're breaking up. You're breaking up. No, I cannot hear you at all.
Okay, hold on. Let's readjust here. Oh no. Okay.
All right, that's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little gravelly,
Hello?
but yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think this might need to be, I don't know what's going on, but there's like a weird connection.
Okay.
Sorry guys. We're having some technical difficulties.
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I am a sucker for covers that are pretty. That is something that I am drawn to. So like when I got this, I was like, oh, beautiful. Yep, I'm so in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually really excited. But I did see that her this reminded me of, oh, I forget the title, but there was like another like series that had very similar like script writing on it, and I can't remember what it was called. But it was like some sort of siren thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't read too many siren books.
Yeah, I forget which one it was called, but anyway. So, do you want me to read it, or do you want to read the synopsis?
Um, you can read it, but before you read it, this is published on September 1st. So we're reading this several months in advance, and I was able to get this on Edelweiss. So if you have access to Edelweiss and you want to read it after we talk about it, then you can download it on Edelweiss. All right, you can go ahead.
All right. 1 second here as I pull it up. Okay. Um, as the daughter of the most beautiful or powerful trader in the Narrows, the sea is only home 17-year-old Fable has ever known. It has been 4 years since the night she watched her mother drown during an unforgiving storm. The next day, her father abandons her on a legendary island filled with thieves and little food. To survive, she must keep to herself, learn to trust no one, and rely on unique skills her mother taught her. The only thing that keeps her going is the goal of getting off the island, finding her father, demanding her rightful place beside him and his crew. To do so, Fable enlists the help of a young trader named West to get her off the island and across the Narrows to her father. But her father's rivalries and dangers of his trading enterprise have only multiplied since she last saw him, and Fable soon finds that West isn't who he seems. Together, they will have to survive more than treacherous storms and haunt the Narrows if they're going to stay alive.
All right. So we normally start with a rating and then we go into our dislikes, and we like to end on a positive note and do our likes, and then we will go into the spoiler edition, which I will give a countdown so that you can stop listening at that time. So what did you rate it?
Okay, I gave this book a 5.
Okay.
But I say a 5, like I want to say that not like a firm 5, like it's probably more like a 4.5 to 5 for me.
Okay. Okay.
What did you rate it?
I gave this a reluctant 4, so probably a 3.9.
Okay.
But on Goodreads, I gave it a 4. I didn't put like 3.9 or anything in my description out if I did give one. But yeah, so I will say a 4. I liked it way more than I disliked it.
Oh, well, that's good. Super exciting. Well, so I didn't have a lot of things. Actually, I didn't have anything that I didn't like. So,
Oh,
what is yours?
okay.
Yeah, I like sat down to do my list, and I was like, I don't have anything negative to say.
Well, if you're giving it a 4.5 to a 5, I guess not.
Right? I really don't have anything. Not anything bad to say.
All right, well, I'll go because I have a couple. I only really have two-ish, 2.5. Okay, so the biggest problem I had, and this is why I'm giving it a reluctant 4, is I felt that the politics in this book was info dumped. And
Okay.
I didn't feel like Adrienne weaved in the politics into the story well enough. It kind of felt disconnected. And I honestly, I do plan on reading book 2, but I'm not going to remember any of the politics in this book. And it's clearly important because she keeps bringing it up. But because she doesn't really develop it, it kind of felt like an afterthought. So I honestly do not know I know there's a character named Holland. I know there's like there's like Baston, which is where her mom is from. And like I don't know. I don't remember any of the politics about it because it was all info dumps. And that was my biggest problem with the book.
Well, and I think also because, the arc too, like there's no map. So that's something that for me, that kind of helps with the world building and to being able to like follow that. So I think I can just see what you're saying though. But I don't, in my opinion, I don't think it was info dump because I did follow it quite a bit. So that was just for me personally. But I'd be curious to, have your ideas on book 2 for it.
Yeah. My other second problem was, and I hate when books do this, is when they have like several major questions up in the air, but they don't get answered. And I felt like I think she may have answered. Okay, so when I was reading the book, and sometimes I will update as I read. I do like live Goodread updates as I'm reading on Goodreads. And if you want to follow me, it's Bang Bang Books, I think I am. I never know am I from Bang Bang Books or Bang Bang Book Blog. Anyway, it's Bang Bang Books if you want to follow me on Goodreads. But so at about 90% of the book, I was like, okay, and I do this with almost every book I read. If these certain questions are not answered, it's going to affect the rating of the book. And I needed 3 things answered. 1, why did her father leave her on the island? 2, what really happened to her mom? And 3, what's with this whole sea demon thing? And I kind of felt like the father, why he left her, was answered. I'll talk about that in the spoiler edition because it might be a spoiler. I think that may have been answered. I still don't know what happened to her mother, which I think is a huge, huge question raised. And I hate it when authors do not answer the major question in the first book and leave it as a huge cliffhanger. I don't like that. And the whole sea demon thing, I don't know if that's going to come back or not. I'm not quite sure. She dropped it in a couple times, which made me think that is important. But so that also affected my rating. It would have probably been like a solid 4 if at least 2 of those had been answered, and they weren't. So, yeah.
Well, and I see like for me, I think I was satisfied enough with the information that we were given as readers with her mom. I was like, okay, well, like obviously she's not going to tell us the whole entire thing because it's going to be part of the next part of the story. Because there's something that happens at the end of the book that you're like, wait a minute, I thought that this person no longer existed. What's happening? So I think that it's going to tie into that. So for me, like I was okay with that question not being totally answered 100%.
I feel like though they could have like said, okay, this is what actually happened to your mom, and then the cliffhanger is why. Because I get that the cliffhanger at the end, I was like, oh, okay, that was a really good cliffhanger. But I still need to know what actually happened to the mom. And the second book could have gone into what happened, how did that happen, and how did it affect everybody, including the dad and all that. So
yeah. And I think, like you said, I think it's going to be answered in book 2. So that, like for me, I wasn't too worried about it because I was satisfied with enough of the suspense that I had. And maybe I was just like, it's okay. Like to me, I don't think that was a huge like question that I was like, oh, I need to have this answered, So, but I find that interesting that was like your 3 questions when I saw your update on Goodreads, and I was like, I wonder what her questions are. Because
that was it.
Okay.
My only other, I only have one more, and it's kind of like a half. I had some issues with the romance, but I also like the romance, and I'll get into that in the I just think that the final culmination was a little bit underwhelming, just a little bit, but that's all I'll say. We could talk about that in the spoiler edition, but that's all my dislike.
Okay. That sounds good to me. I think for things that I liked, I really enjoyed the seafaring adventure style of this book, because it's not something that you read every day. It's kind of like the same excitement that I get when I'm like wanting to read like a new paranormal like romance type of novel. But it's like you don't have a lot of like pirate books that are well written. Do you know what I mean? And it's like her Fable as a character, and the fact that she is, you know, stranded on this island, but her father has abandoned her and just like he literally jumps her off in the middle of the night and it's like, see you later, bye. If you can make it off the island, you can come back to me, you know. And it's like this whole struggle between like her, you know, learning how to survive, learning the nicks and tricks of the trade. I mean, she's literally trying to survive in what's a man's world as a woman, and she's being like disrespected, like just like she's not even there. Because there's like a couple points where they talk about her traveling on different like charter boats is like the best way that I can describe that without giving too much away. But like when they go to like do trades and stuff like that, they all hop on like this a boat that they pay for passage. And there's a bunch of other, you know, diamond hunters that are like trying to make their living, right? And so she's literally like put on the back of the boat and they're like, here, you need to help tow us in here. Like, what? She just paid for passage on this boat. So for me, I really enjoyed the seafaring life, and I really enjoyed the fact that like it is a very much so a book where she is learning to be her own woman in a world where men rule everything, where she like has nothing, you know. So I really did like that about the book. What's something that you liked?
Well, just to kind of talk about, just kind of elaborate on what you said, and in our previous podcast, I was like, I had already started reading and I was like, oh, all the ship talk. And so I actually like pirate books, but I don't like the action associated. So I don't like a plot driven story. I like more character driven, because I have problems picturing all of the action on the page. So when a book has a lot of battles or fights or whatever, I have a hard time picturing it. So I tend to not like it. And when you get a pirate book, you're going to get battles and fights, and that's going to happen. It's part of the whole experience of it. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. I like pirate books, but at the same time, I don't really want to read about the pirate battles. I don't think there were too many in this book. I also don't know anything about sailing. So when she's talking about, you know, the parts of the ship and the sails, and like, I'm like, I don't care about that. I don't know anything about it. I'm not interested in it. It didn't make the book any worse or anything. I thought Adrienne Young did it well. But just to kind of piggyback on your thing. But one thing I liked all of the characters. I hate it when authors put rando characters in books and they don't contribute to the plot. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. But I felt like everybody contributed to the plot of this book. Everybody. And even if it was just like their backstory, and we didn't get the backstory of all of them, like Paj and Aster and Hamish, I think theirs is going to come in the next book, which is fine. But, you know, and it was like revealed slowly. It wasn't one big, well, this is my story and I'm going to tell you my whole story and our first meet. Like, it wasn't that. It was like revealed slowly throughout the book, which I liked. Yeah, including what's her name? Fable. Oh my God, it's the title character. Including Fable. One thing what I really liked about her, and we can kind of go into her because I'm pretty sure she's one of your likes, is one thing that YA books do that I hate is that they'll have this smart mouth girl and she's just like, I'm smarter than everybody and I'm going to tell everybody what to do. And I'm new on this ship and there's 5 of you and 1 of me. And I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not doing that. But she didn't do any of that. Like, they were like, look, you need to pick up that broom and sweep that stuff and I'm not going to feed you. And she's like, okay, look, you need to get in that corner and shut up. Okay. She did make some mistakes that cost them dearly, but it it was really stuff that she was really ignorant about. Like, she really didn't understand what she was doing. She wasn't like, I mean, yeah, she did leave the boat when she was told not to, but she had to. She had to. She didn't have a choice. It was not a selfish reason or because she was nosy. She had to survive. This is how she had to do it. So I liked that she kept her mouth shut. She listened. She spoke, and I'm not saying it in like an anti-feminist way. It's more of a realistic. I'm new here. I don't know these people. They're gonna throw me overboard if I don't keep my mouth shut, and she did it. So I liked her a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but I liked her.
I like the fact that like she, like you said, I mean, she had a good head on her shoulders. She wasn't this like overly dumb female character, or she wasn't overly confident. Like, I like someone who's in the middle that actually has like a sense of morals like on their shoulders. And for her, her whole life's goal for the past 4 years was to get back to her dad. That was her one goal. So however she had to survive to do that, if she had to play nasty, she played nasty because that's what she was told to do and how she was brought up. I mean, she was brought up on a pirate ship. So like, her dad always had these rules, basically like, you're not supposed to share like who means a lot to you because they can use it against you. Like, she was very well thought. Like, she actually did think about it, but at the same time she did make stupid mistakes because she's been living by herself for 4 years. Okay, so like, she's just surviving off of the knowledge that she knows to be true and off of what everyone else is doing. So maybe sometimes it doesn't seem like a good idea, but to her one main mission was to get back to her dad's ship, right? Like, that was her main goal. And I actually feel like Adrienne, she wrote these characters in such a good way that I didn't feel like there was unnecessary characters. I didn't feel like either or any of the characters didn't give you enough information about themselves for you to like see what their personality is and a little bit of their backstory, because I feel like she actually did give you little snippets of Haj and Hamish and the other one too, because it's like you knew just enough about them that you were okay with it. And even like the little, the person who like helps them with their ship or whatever, like helps them fix their ship. You got like a little bit of backstory. You're like, I'm satisfied with that. I'm okay with that. And even with her dad, even with what is his name? The villain. What is his name? Oh my goodness.
Zola.
Thank you, Zola. Like, you got enough of his background too, but the one person that we didn't get a whole lot of background on is her mom, and I think it's for obvious reasons, because she's using it for the next book. But I did really enjoy the fact that Willa and Wes' relationship is very, like I did not see that coming, and so I really feel like those two characters, along with Fable, had some growth in the book from who they were when we first met them.
Yeah.
So, for me, characters experiencing growth, that's positive. They're actually developing into who they should be.
I agree.
And I think that and this is me just trying to be as vague as possible, but like the fact with the whole pirate setting, right? Like, for me, like, I've been on ships before. Like, I understand like some of the language that is being used. And I really felt like, for me personally, that Adrienne used such good imagery in her writing that I could like feel the wind against my skin, if that makes any sense. Like, she was very, very vivid in how she was describing what life was like at sea, that you almost felt like you were on the ship with them. And when they talk about like the birds coming and surrounding the ship and how they're like the birds that it's like rumored that those are like departed pirate souls that come back. And it's like, I'm like, I can just feel a whole swarm of like seagulls like around the ship right now. I don't know. I thought she did a really good job.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Another thing I liked was I didn't hate the pacing. This is a short book. It's under 400 pages. The final adventure was really quick. But that could easily mean that the book is not about that. And so I think sometimes people get they don't like pacing because they're like, well, how come we took all this time on the ship and then the final climax was only a chapter? Well, it might be because it's really not about that. It's about the relationship. And I did not hate the pacing. I was never bored. I read the book. I didn't listen to it. And usually I can listen to a book really a lot faster than I can read it. But I finished it in a couple of days. It was a good read. I didn't get bored at all. I didn't find myself skipping at all, which is a test for me. If I'm skipping around, that means I hate it, and I really wasn't skipping. So yeah, I like the pacing.
Yeah, no, I did too. I was so after I read, I always do like a check on other people's comments on Goodreads just to see what other people have said about it. So that way, you know, you and I aren't spoiling it before we actually talk about it. And one person had wrote, which I just found interesting. They're like, my only, you know, gripe is that the book was too short. And I'm thinking to myself, I disagree because I feel like the book was written to the length that it should be written, and we're not like, okay, this is another 450-page book. Like, okay, like she found a good stopping point, and then she just stuck with it versus adding unnecessary battles, for example, and prolonging like the ship races and whatever. Like I felt like that's not what her story is about, like the whole fighting scenes. And like you said, it's about the relationship. So she stuck with that, which I appreciated.
Yeah. Usually like I don't know why I have these little stupid tests that I do, but another thing that I do is when a fantasy book is under 400 pages, especially a book one, it's usually a red flag because it usually means that the world is info dumped, especially when it's first person POV, which this one is. But I think when an author has figured out how to build her world and develop relationships and have action in shorter pages, I think that they've done us a service because there was no extra bullshit here. Everything on the page was important. Even the birds. The birds were not just some random bird. Like everything was important to the plot. And so she was able to get her story in under 400 pages without leaving too much out. Like I did complain that, you know, I felt like she didn't answer the questions. But it wasn't like the book needed to be longer for her to do that. She made a choice to not add, to keep that in her book. And, you know, that's her choice. So I disagree too. I think that the book was just fine at the length that it was.
Yeah. No, and I think that because like when you get books like that, I'm thinking the same way. I'm like, oh, so are we not going to get a lot of information on the world and a lot of backstory? Are we just being thrown into a story? Like, you know, trying to weigh out like, why is this book so small? You know, based on the genre of book that we're reading. But I think that, you know, Adrienne Young, she just kept to what she chose to do, and she made those decisions and she stuck to it. So I would have to disagree with that person saying that it was too short. I think it was perfect, to be honest, because I think any other information it wouldn't have been as good as it was. Like I was satisfied. That's why I gave it the rating that I did, is because I was like, all right, I'm okay with that. I like what just happened. I didn't feel like I wasted my time getting to know characters that I didn't like. You know, like unlike the Tracy Wolf book that we just, you know, reviewed the week before.
Yeah.
You know,
needlessly
it was just
long.
Yeah, that was unnecessary. The amount of battles were unnecessary. The strife was unnecessary. This was just, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, thank God, someone who knows how to write a book.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I wanted to comment on before we get into
Well, I have a couple things.
Do you have any? Okay.
I have more, and you can.
I think I got them all, but who knows?
Okay. Well, if you are like not new to the pod, I'm quite critical with books. I hate books more than I like them. And I'm really specific about the books I like. I like a critical book. I don't consider this to be critical. I do consider this to be fluffy, but when I read a fluffy book, it still needs to have some discussion elements and talking points. And so what makes this book, why I liked this book a lot more than like Crave, or there have been some other horrible fantasies. What was it? The Bone Crier's Moon. Like there have been some pretty shitty fantasies that we've been reading. But one of the reasons why I liked this so much is that Adrienne Young actually tried to do something here. Like she has multiple themes in this book. It's not just about the romance. And I think sometimes YA authors tend to like think teens only have the attention span for a romance, and like the other subplot is kind of like buried under the romance, but she didn't do that. Like she's got a lot of themes here. You mentioned this, the rule of what is it? Never reveal what matters to you most. I think that was probably the biggest theme in the book. And then there's seeking approval from a parental figure, and it wasn't just Fable, it were other characters that were doing the same thing. A found family, a place of belonging. I thought that was done really well when she's like, you know, I want to be a part of your crew because I have nobody else. So I thought that was a really good theme. Trust and loyalty, and that's going to be tested. I feel like that's really going to be tested in the next book. So yeah, I felt like she tried to do something with the themes, and also the characters' names had meaning, which I really appreciated. I actually looked up what meanings and symbolism of some of the names were. So her father's name is Saint, and is he a saint? I mean, that's a source of discussion. I feel like if you can discuss a book, like little stuff like a person's name or symbols in a book, that makes for a critical read. It kind of sets apart from being okay to an actual good book. And that's why I like this book. And so even West has meaning, the name West. Fable is a choice. And we can talk about that. Like, why do you think, like, we all know what the word fable means. So why do you think she chose to name the main character Fable? And it doesn't really come up in the narrative. Like she leaves it up to you to kind of figure out why her name is Fable, which I like a lot.
Well, and I mean, like even like Willa's name name means resolute protection. Okay, like
I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah. So like the name Willa, if you look at like what that name actually means, you know, it's like there was a purpose for how she named her characters, what their storyline was, you know, how she connected them. But you're right. I mean, this book is definitely a book that you could discuss. I mean, this would be a great book for you to discuss with your teens whenever you guys do get back to having normal book club times. Because it does bring a lot of discussion. It's not just like, oh, okay, their name is John. You know? Yeah.
Well, the Fable name, like Fable just means a story that has a moral to it. So I'm like, okay, well, what's the moral of this? Like, usually it's like a bad moral. It's like, if you put your hand in the cookie jar, it's going to get stuck. Like, it's that type of moral. So it's like, it's like falling in love with her or being with her is a bad omen almost. Because they keep telling her she's cursed. She's cursed. You got to bring down her chip. And it's like, is she cursed? Is that something to do with the sea demon? She only mentioned the sea demons a couple times. I don't know. But I like that she purposely gave her a name and like connected it to the actual plot of the story. So I did like 100%.
That. Yeah.
I like the beginning. I won't, right before she got to the ship, we'll talk about that in the spoiler edition, but I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And we're off. Let's do this.
I was so grateful for that. I really was.
Yeah. I was like, how long are we going to be with this girl on this deserted island? And we weren't with her that long. And I was all right with that.
I think it was like 30, 40 pages before you finally moved off. And I was like, oh, but it progressed so well. Like, I'm definitely one of those people that like, I like to be thrown into a story, just throw me in right away and we'll hope for the best. I would much prefer that versus, you know, you setting up this scene and the storyline and all this other stuff. Like, just throw me in.
Agreed. One other thing I liked is I really did like the slow burn romance. Once again, YA books, they want to do all the heavy breathing across the room and, oh, his arms glistened in the sun, and oh, I'm clutching my pearls because he's just so handsome. Like, there was none of that BS at all. And I appreciated it a lot. So I like the slow burn. I think that Adrienne Young does a slow burn quite well. She also does a hate to love romance. She did this in The Sky and the Deep, and I thought it was really effective in The Sky and the Deep. So, she does it well. She knows what she's good at. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it works for her. She writes it well. So
Yeah. Those are all my likes. So
yeah, that's awesome. I think that's all I had on there too. I think you covered the rest of them.
all right. Well, we are going to start the spoiler edition of Fable by Adrienne Young in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Time to spoil.
Do you want to talk about the first part of the book that you were just talking about? How you liked that setup?
Yeah, I was kind of confused in the beginning, to be honest, because she does like throw you into the deep end, literally in this book.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, and I'm like, is that word a real word? What was she called? A dregger? What was she called?
It's a dregger, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't bother to look that word up, so I don't know why.
Yeah, no. So like, I mean, it's just someone who like they're like a gatherer, like they're looking for lost, stolen treasure, trying to sell it, trying to make better living for themselves.
Okay. So yeah, I was kind of confused in the beginning, and she had to like hide her like stuff so that she could like get to passage. And I was confused because like this character is just like she's on this boat with this guy. I can't remember his name, and I could probably look it up. But I was really confused at first, but then I was like, okay, I think I got it. But he just like attacks her. Like her stuff has been ransacked and he just like attacks her. And I was just like, whoa. Oh my God, I wasn't expecting that at all. And her running to the boat and like begging to be put on that ship. I'm like, oh God, please let her on the ship, please. Like, I mean, she's gonna get on the ship. Otherwise, there's no book here. But it was just like the way it was written, it was just like so desperate. And you could actually feel the desperation of the guy who attacked her. I don't remember his name once again.
I forget because he was
Coy?
just in the beginning of the book.
Coy. His name is Coy.
Is it Coy? Is it Coy?
Yeah. So yeah, he just like he's desperate too because he's got to feed a family. Like, but it doesn't make it okay for him to like attack her and try and steal her stuff. But it makes the reader like think about the other guy and their motive. Which once again, that's good writing. So yeah, I was shocked that we were like jumping off like that. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and it's just the whole idea of it, like when she's having to get on the boats and she's having to sell what she's finding, and like how she has to like hold her coin purse like literally inside of her clothes to make sure that no one can hear it jingling or anything like that. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I felt sorry for her. I was like super sympathetic towards her. And then when she's getting attacked, I'm just like, oh dear Lord, please let her get out. And she's going to get out because she's the main character. But at the same time, it's like, I just felt like it was so realistic. Like I'm just watching her get beaten to a pulp and her having to decide whether she's going to kill someone or not. I thought that was really good because she literally made that choice on like, I could kill him, but what would that make me? That would make me just as low and monstrous as the rest of these people on this island who are killing to survive. And there's a lot of killing. I felt like I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean. And they're just like, off with your head. I don't care. Just kill them all.
Yeah.
So, but then I felt just like her desperation wanting to get off of this island and like to find her dad, and the scar that's on her arm, and it's like, why does she have to keep covering up the scar? Like I wanted to actually like see what it looks like. I was really hoping I could get a picture of it, but I guess that wasn't a thing. But and the fact that everything had a meaning, like her scar had a meaning in the book, and it was actually, a hidden treasure map to her own money that's waiting for her own inheritance. And I want to know, what were your thoughts when you found out that, I guess when that question was answered, but that might be towards the end of our discussion, but with her dad and like why her dad had done what he did. So the night that the lark like sank.
Yeah. So this is one of the questions. I wasn't sure if I missed it or not, the answer. So the only thing I can surmise is that he broke his own rule, which is never reveal what matters to you. And I think when he was in love with Isolde, the mom, and that was his demise. And I'm thinking he put her on that island because he's like, I don't want you to die too. So I'm going to put you on the island. I'm going to put a map on your arm. And if you can prove that you can survive, and I know you proved it when you find me, I will tell you what that scar means. You can have that money and you can live a life however you choose away from me because I don't want to lose another loved one. I think that is why he left her there. It wasn't explicitly said. So that's either two things. That's either genius because she's like, I'm not going to tell you everything, reader. You got to figure some stuff out on your own. I love that. Or B, there is more to it and the question wasn't answered. So that's what I think.
Well, and also I think because I mean she has this meetup with her dad multiple times, right? So she has the meetup where she's like, I made it, and he just kind of brushes her off, like, okay, good job. Here's your inheritance. It's right there on your arm the whole entire time. Then she has the meetup when she has to ask him for money, right? And then she has the meetup when she's actually leaving. And it's like in those 3 meetups with Saint himself, I really feel like that hidden piece of him that he wasn't supposed to show love or to let anyone see was that last little piece that my heart needed, because it's like you said, he broke his own rule. He did fall in love with someone, and guess what? That someone got hurt. And so now his own child is in danger because he's one of the biggest pirate lords that's roaming around here. And what do pirates do? They kill everyone that you loved and anything that you love. It's just what they do. And so I think for her dad, him leaving her on that island was his way of protecting his daughter, protecting his own heart from experiencing her dying in front of him, because you don't know what happened if he saw his wife die, if someone came and killed her and he finds her. We don't know exactly like how he found out that his wife is dead. So I think that it was just that was his way of protecting his loved one. And like he did give her that option to applaud her basically and reward her for finding him again. But then he's like, okay, now you can't like love on me because now you need to go your own way because it's dangerous for you. But yet he still shows these parental instincts where he's like, oh, if Zoila is coming after you, you need to let me know. You need to let me take care of it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because he just told her, don't come looking for me. But then he retracted it and said, oh, if someone's bothering you, come and tell me because I'll take care of it. Because they don't know that you're my daughter. Type of thing. It's just like, to me, it's like he just can't seem to let go of those paternal instincts. As much as he like tries to be the big bad, dad, like, I'm going to push you away over here. You're still my daughter and I'll still make sure that you're cared for, sort of, because then you learn that this whole entire time he's been sending West to the island to make sure that he buys her gems that she's dragging up, to make sure that he's providing for her food, right? Some sort of currency. So technically, did she get off the island all on her own? No, she didn't, because she may have been wise with her money, but that money wasn't even her money that she earned on her own. It was earned from her father, not knowing that it was earned from her father. And the ship that she got off of the island with, that was her dad's ship. It was a ghost ship, like all of these things. So it's like, I think that Saint has those loving dad qualities that he just cannot leave her alone, even though he says he's going to. I think he says he's going to for the simple fact that, no one else is going to hear him when he does it. So he like has to keep everything like super hush hush to talk to her. So I definitely think that there's going to be more growth of Saint in the next book. And I think we're going to see more of his story.
Oh, for sure. Especially
So,
since it ends with like his trusted servant is now on his enemy's boat, Clove. Like
who was
that was
supposed to be dead?
yeah.
Who's
Did he say
supposed to
he
have?
was dead? Did
Yes, he
Saint
was
say he was dead? Or did
Yes.
he say he's no longer with me?
Oh well, okay, but he fell into the water after he saved her.
I must
So
not have read that too
Clove,
carefully.
so Clove was the one who had carried her off the ship to the little like thingy ship, to get back to her, and he like falls into the water after, and it says that he like doesn't make it till morning or whatever. So I'm curious what happened now that you say it.
Yeah.
Like the exact wording, because maybe it was put in there and I just missed it. But I don't know. But
Yeah,
when
I
I
don't
saw him
know.
come back on the page, I was like, oh, he's alive? How was he alive?
Yeah,
I thought he was dead.
I wasn't expecting that at all. So that was not predictable.
No, the ending was not predictable.
No.
In
Well, I knew
that
that.
aspect,
Yeah,
that
I knew that.
they're not going to make it in the last fight, right? They're not going to be successful.
No. And I knew that Zola was going to capture her. I mean, that was pretty obvious because West has said that he loves her. So now she has to be taken because that's rule number 4 or 5, the main rule.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I wasn't upset that it was predictable. It's fine.
Well, no, because I wasn't, because I was okay with it.
Yeah, it was fine. So, do you have any predictions about what you think happened to the mom?
I think it's something to do with that sea dragon thing, man. I really do. I feel like because she was on that specific island, Bastion, right? Is it Bastion?
Yeah.
Bastion? I feel like we're mixing up the names
Bastion.
of Bone Criers. Bastion of Bone Criers. I feel like it has something to do with that because she's able to read like the tones of the gems, and she's able to distinguish that. And I'm literally like, well, that's not something that's taught to you. That's something that's inherited, right? Like that's like something specific to her bloodline. So I'm curious if my prediction is correct, that I think her mom somehow fell captive to the sea dragon of some sort. I think there's some under like mystical workings happening, or that Zola has her mom in captivity, or her mom died in captivity with Zola because she was working with him, and then she moved into working with Saint.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, so when Fable first dives off of West, the Marigold, West's ship, she can sense stuff. That's not, humans can't do that. So like
that's what it was like.
Yeah, there's something supernatural there. And also, if I'm not mistaken, we never saw the mom's body. And my whole theory is no body, no deady. So she may not even be dead. And Saint may not even know that. He might just think she's dead, but maybe she's still alive.
Yep. Because I mean, here's my thing. When they go diving into the remains of the Lark, right? Am I saying that's the ship's name?
Yeah.
Right? The remains of it, you would think that there would be human bones down there, right? That she would see human bones, and I don't think they reference that at all. No. So I don't think her body was down there. I think something else happened to her, and we just are under the assumption that she died in the storm, or maybe her dad thought that she actually did die to the storm, or she was taken through this big giant storm that's like guarding this, like, it almost reminds me of like the Bermuda Triangle, that they have to like navigate it like perfectly, or else you will sink your ship and then you're out of luck, Chuck. So I wonder if it's like something supernatural that happens in that area, because he's been hoarding his treasure there for a while. like that. I'm sorry, not hoarding his treasure, but that's like the quickest way for him to get from point A to point B. And so he was the only that it was able to navigate the narrows. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. And because the
Yeah,
mom, you think it's because the mom was able to like do
I feel
something
like
with the storm?
yeah, I think so because she's one of the what are they called? But she's always up by the mast. Like that's where she was all the time, just like Willa,
Mhm.
like up, up,
Yeah,
up,
masthead.
up, up high.
Another thing, because I looked up the name Isolde, and so Isolde is. Did you look her name up?
No, did tell me her name though.
Okay, so there, and I think this is a real story. I can't remember the specifics, but it's Isolde was betrothed to the king, and the king sent somebody, I don't know if it was a brother or a cousin or something, to go get her, and they accidentally drank a love potion, and they fell in love. And so she married the guy that came to get her instead of the king. And so you don't give a character name Isolde unless there's a reason for it. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if she was like betrothed to Zola and she
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with Saint and he's just like, no, or maybe it was the other way around or something. I don't know, but that name has weight to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it could be that too. Like, and she's not dead, and maybe she's in it with Zola, and he's like, hey, I want my. She's like, go get my daughter, and maybe she's a bad guy. Who knows? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or Fable carries some part of her mother like with her that we didn't know about, because it always talks about, how her mother used to sing to her and tell her all of these tales, which by the way, Fable's name means story, like so she's like a child derived or not derived, but yeah, derived from stories. She's
Mm,
given all these lists of things that she's supposed to follow. She loves the way that the sea feels, like it feels like home to her, and she just feels like she's lulled to sleep on the ship and all this other stuff. Like it's just there's this weird flow of these little itty bitty stories like mixed in to this own story. So um, I don't think her mom's dead. I really don't. I feel like something she was captured by something, or she was taken over by her powers, or something. Maybe she belongs to the sea. Who knows? Who knows? But that was something for me that I was looking forward to reading that.
yeah.
So yeah.
The only other thing is the romance with, and this is what I was
Mm-hmm.
saying in the spoiler-free edition. It's like he tells the romance is a very slow burn. There is no like longing looks. There's a couple of little looks. But she's kind of thinking that maybe him and Willa had something going on, but turns out they're brother and sister, and so that helps her out with her desire, if you will. Um, so it was when they were diving to the Lark and he kissed her. I was just like, I was a little underwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie. And it came like at 90% of the book. So for the whole book, you're like, hello, when are they gonna kiss already? Like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
But I did
But
like
see,
he had this little conversation with her when they came up, and he's like, look, you can stay, or this is before they went down to the dive. He's like, you can stay on this ship, but he, in so many words, he was like, I can't love you, so stop looking at me, lady. Like, I was like, I like that. I was like, okay, cool.
I loved
Maturity.
it. But see, I really did like it because to me it was finally a romance where he could keep it in his pants. Okay?
Yeah.
Like and I found that refreshing because it's like, that's not romances don't start that way. You know what I mean? Like it is usually a slow burn or it is like finally they paid attention to me. Finally I got their attention. You know, but I really did like the slow burn romance. I did like Wes as a character and I'm always like when he kept like staring at her longingly, I'm like, oh, he likes her. There's no getting around it. I mean, she's a gorgeous girl, cover telling you everything. Like she's not some ugly girl. Um, because at first you don't see her like looking at herself in a mirror because she has yet to see what she looks like. And she sees that she's like, oh, that's just like my mother. Um, Zult was a pretty woman. So why wouldn't her daughter be? Um, but I when they did kiss, I was like, okay, come on. So it wasn't like shooting stars all over the place, but I was okay with it. Hey, finally they kissed, because I would have been upset if they wouldn't have kissed, and
Oh yeah.
we would have had to wait until the second book. I hate that. And like, just come on, because now I'm just waiting for this romance to just happen, and then I feel like I'm going to be let down with the outcome, you know. So
Mhm. I also like the little. I feel like this is a little bit of a writer's trick, is that it's not like, even if they were to kind of like hook up early on in the book, they wasn't insta love because he's known her for 4 years. Like he goes and docks and meets with her all the time. So I think that's kind of a trick that Adrienne Young used to be like, well, it's not insta love because he's known her for 4 years. So
but
you
he
can't
did say,
can't call it
though,
that.
but he did say, though, that he did start to fall in love with her.
Yeah.
Because he was wanting to go back. He's like, I didn't have to, but I would like hustle butt to get back here to make sure you were okay. You know? So it's like his connection to her wasn't like, oh, you saved my life, let me love you. It was like they actually established a relationship, and she deemed him safe enough to get onto his ship in the first place.
Yeah, well, he was the only man that she felt safe with, because he never tried to attack her or steal her stuff. He actually fed her because he was buying her stuff, unbeknownst to her, but still. So, yeah.
Yeah. I did like so when their ship gets like the sails get slashed, my heart just broke, because I'm like, in the realm of pirates, having having your sails slashed is like the end of the line for you, because it takes a lot of money to repair them. So the fact that like Paj and how do you say his name?
Austere.
Austere, because I want to say Aster. There were a little like romance, and they're like, oh yeah, so and so he helped him get off the island, and then he was promised to make sure that he always repaid a debt when we needed it. And this guy is like hustling butt to repair this sail as they're like pulling out of the docks. I was dying. It was so good. It was so good. But yeah, and I really enjoyed the themes of the book. That was something that that made me happy, because it wasn't just like she's got to get back to her dad. It was a whole slew of things. So
yeah,
I think that's all I've got for that one. I think.
Yeah, me too.
Do you got anything else?
No, I think we covered it.
So our next podcast we're going to be doing on The Chosen Ones, correct?
Yes.
With Veronica Roth, which that'll be an interesting one.
Have you finished?
I did. So you guys will have to stay tuned for our talk on that one.
What else are we doing? The Betrothed?
Betrothed, it comes out in 4 days.
All right, so here's what's up. I have figured out, well, I didn't figure it out. I'm pretty sure it's not a secret, but if you do Audible and you read, because you technically get 2 credits a month, and then so you only, or 1 credit a month or something like that. I think I might get 2 because I'm a Prime member, which I think is garbage that you pay $15 for 1 audiobook. Like who can only listen to 1 audiobook in a month? Like that's ridiculous. I listened to 6 this month. Come on. So, but I have learned that if you return the book, you get your credit back. So I have been doing that an infinite amount of times. So I am just chugging those audiobooks out, man, and I am not going to read The Betrothed. I'm going to listen to it, because do you know what the rating is on Goodreads right now?
No.
3.59.
3.42.
3.42. Which means it is going to be shitty, and
it's
oh my god,
fluffy shitty. What did you say?
God. So I'm gonna be listening to that garbage. I'm not taking my time to read that at all.
Yeah, no, it'll. But she's got pretty books, man.
Okay.
I do. I love this dress. I would wear it.
Yeah, I mean her covers are beautiful, but
they are. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay.
Did you read Aurora Rising?
That's on my to-read list.
Aurora Burning comes out next week too, but you didn't read Aurora Rising.
Oh, well, maybe I need to hustle butt on some audio.
I think you need to hustle butt.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. Well, then now we've got our books, you guys. So you guys all need to stay tuned. We've got Chosen Ones, we've got the Betrothed, and then I need to hustle butt on this Aurora Rising.
Yep. So then, because then you got to read Aurora Rising, then you got to read Aurora Burning, and those books is thick. Sorry, yeah. They're like 500 pages. So yeah, but they're quick though. They're quick reads. Well, the first one was quick.
It'll be okay. No worries.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for our discussion and rating of Fable by Adrienne Young. We highly recommend, if you have Edelweiss, access to Edelweiss, I recommend you check it out, or ask the publisher for a free copy. It is worth the read. And thank you for joining us, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.